Alright, this is my second video. Seen a lot of videos on top 10 lists, top 10 fighters in Westeros. So I figured I'll make my own, why not, I'm just as credible as anybody else, huh? I mean, in my opinion I am. Maybe my friends don't think that so much, but hey, it's my video. Okay, top 10. Number 10, Thoros of Myr, the Red Priest of Myr. Thoros of Myr. First, I guess the first time you ever hear about him is he's in the melee, I guess for the hands tournament. Does he win? I believe he wins that. But or no, he loses to Bronze Royce. Okay, but this guy's won multiple melees, and melees. I mean, it sets up more for better fighters. I mean, jousting. Yeah, you might be a better horseman if you win the joust tournament. But melees, I mean, that kind of separates you from being a great swordsman, a great fighter. I mean, this dude's beaten Sandor Clegane and knocked him off his horse 3 times in melees. That kind of makes you a recognizable badass. Plus, in the Greyjoy Rebellion, you hear a bunch of stories. When Jory's talking to Jaime Lannister, he's talking about whenever Thoros of Myr comes running across with his red sword, on fire. I mean, he was the first guy over the wall, man. This guy's to be a drinking partner with Robert Baratheon and hang out with that dude. You kind of got to be a badass, man. So that's kind of how I roll with Thoros of Myr. Okay, this number 9, probably not a guy a lot of people talk about. Garland Tyrell. Man, I just like this guy. I like his character. I like the type of person he is. He's quiet. He doesn't like to fight until, he's not a tourney fighter. He doesn't get off to that stuff, But he's a little bigger than Loras. He trains with 3 people at one time to simulate battle, I mean, he was a plump kid, when he was young. His brother Willis kind of took care of him, took him under his wing, named him Garland the Gallant. I just think that the dude's a badass, and we're going to find out more. I think in Winds of Winter, whenever we find out about the Iron Men and the Reach, I think you're going to see some pretty badass scenes with this guy. He's going to be a badass, man. I just have a feeling. And he would kick Loras' ass, no problem. I don't care what anybody thinks. Okay, number 8, Gregor Clegane, the Mountain that Rides. Well, I mean, the dude's almost 8 feet tall. He wears plate armor heavier than any other armor than anybody else makes. I mean, his helmet's even plate armor. So, I mean, we're thinking, a guy this big and strong, this shit's got to be like, 3/8 thick plate or some shit, I mean, you can't get anything. The only time Oberyn Martell gets him is, just around joints in the armor. And my whole thing with the Oberyn Martell fight, yes, Oberyn beat him. Speaking with, Oberyn's not on this list. Styles make fights, in boxing, styles make fights. Okay? This dude was fast. I mean, he's not set up to beat a guy like this. But you put Gregor Clegane in the vanguard in the middle of a freaking battle, this dude's just uprooting folks. He's killing everybody. You think if Oberyn Martell meets that dude in a battlefield where he can't run around like he's in a big UFC octagon where he can run around and just stay away from this guy? Hell no, he can't do that. He's going to get cut to pieces. And speaking of definitely, Oberyn Martell fights Jaime, all those guys, they cut the freaking end of his fucking spear off and fuck his ass up quick like. That dude's not, that's why he's not on my top 10. Not saying he's not badass, but I just don't think he's on their level. Okay. Khal Drogo, number 7. Khal Drogo. He's a gifted warrior, Undefeated. I mean, that says a lot. That says, I mean, I'm of the opinion, I mean, the dude doesn't wear armor. I mean, I mean, you're fighting a knight with heavy plate armor. I don't care how fast you are. I mean, the guys ahead of him, I mean, like I said, he's a badass. He's strong. He's like 6'6". He's a big dude. Great horse rider. But, I mean, you just not wearing plate armor, not wearing armor is going to It's going to come back to bite you in the ass, man. So that's why I can't put him any higher on the list. You know, a lot of people put him up 2, 3. I just don't see that with him. But I mean, you know, that's everybody else's list, but this is mine. So, like I said, he's a badass. He's fast. I mean, the dude's never lost a battle. He's like, what, 30 years old. I mean, he has the biggest caliber arm, 40,000 strong. I mean, dude's a badass. But like I said, I mean, just the whole no wearing armor thing, and they think it's, you know, you're like a pussy if you wear armor. Well, you also live. So that's just my opinion on that. Number 6. Now, this is where a lot of people are probably going to say, this dude doesn't deserve to be on this list. Well, guess what he does? Great John Umner. The Great John. This is my opinion. I have arguments with buddies all the time. You read Princess and the Queen, okay? I don't know whose army it is, but they call them wolves. They come down and they're fighting, and I don't remember which side, if they're one of the greens or the blacks. But every battle they were in, they fought in the vanguard, and they fought in multiple battles. And all they do is talk about how badass, how many people they kill. I mean, they're killing like 2 to 1 at least. That being said, in Game of Thrones and Clash of Kings, I mean, Robb Stark's, the Northmen kicked the crap out of them, and they're undermanned. I mean, they beat the crap out of the Lannister armies. So that being said, whenever you're undermanned, every time you get in a battle, and your army still finds a way to win, so that just tells you the North has the best warriors in the world. I mean, in Westeros. I mean, so if the best armies in the world come from the North, you got to assume some of the best fighters in the world come from the North, and nobody's top 10 list has anybody from the North on it. Nobody's. I mean, Jaime Lannister says that this is probably one of the only guys on Westeros. Now, he thinks highly of himself, probably thinks 4 or 5 people can only hang with him on Westeros. But Jaime Lannister sees this guy and thinks, yeah, he's formidable. He can handle it. I mean, he can hang with me. He thinks he could be one of the guys that could beat him. So, plus, he's a badass. He gets his fingers bit off by Grey Wind. I mean, that's and laughs about it. That's kind of the makings of a badass to me. I don't know about you. Number 5, Jaime Lannister. Now, Jaime Lannister, I mean, I'm like everybody else, didn't like him at first, but he's one of my favorite characters now. This is what I'll say about Jaime Lannister. Jaime Lannister was knighted by Sir Arthur Dayne, one of the greatest knights ever. This dude, he fought in the Kingswood Brotherhood War. You know, this dude crossed swords with the Smiling Knight. Now, we don't know a lot about the Smiling Knight. We know he was a little crazy. We know that. He was certifiable. He was nuts. But this dude was obviously a badass. He's crossed swords. Arthur Dayne ended up beating him. But this dude was fighting Arthur Dayne and fighting Jaime Lannister at the same time. I mean, he ends up dying, but if you're fighting two guys like that, it means you're a badass. And you're holding your own with Arthur Dayne. So, that being said, I mean, Barristan says Jaime's one of the best swordsmen he's ever seen in his life. I mean, that he's legit. You can't say anything bad about that guy, other than he has sex with his sister. That's about the only bad thing. And he pushed Bran out the window. That was a dick move. Number 4, Barristan the Bold Selmy. When I was doing research on this, I was on the wiki page looking stuff up. Like, this guy has a list of just badass things he's done. I mean, this guy was a mystery knight and attorney whenever he was 10 years old. You know, he was dubbed the Barristan the Bold by Prince Duncan the Small. I mean, and then when he's 16, or he's in a tournament, he wins the tournament, he unhorses Prince Duncan the Tall. I mean, this guy, he's special, man. I mean, he's special. I mean, he kills Malice, is that how you say? Malice the Monstrous. Kills him in the War of the Nine Petty Kings. I mean, this guy goes inside the Defiance Duskendale. This guy goes straight up commando, sneaks in the freaking castle, and rescues Aerys. I mean, This dude is like, what, 60 years old? And he beats Crass. Now, Crass didn't have armor, and he says how fast Crass was, but still 60 years old. And it's just like, when he's talking, whenever you read it in the book, whenever you read him fighting Crass, it's like, yeah, this dude's quick. Oh, he hit my armor. Like, I mean, the dude's just calm. He's like ice water in his veins, you know? This dude's like, he's like Jordan taking a three-point shot at the end of the game. This guy is just, he's it, you know? And he's 60 years old, and he's a badass knight. So if you're that old, you know, you've lived that long, I mean, that's all the credit you need. All the credit you need. Number 3, Arthur Dane. Now, I know a lot of people probably put Arthur Dane number 1 on all their lists. My buddies, whatever. I got a buddy of mine, he thinks Sir Arthur Dane hung the moon. I mean, this guy is freaking Audie Murphy and fucking John Wayne tied into one to this motherfucker. You don't even really hear anything about him, but I mean, even George says he never meant for this character to get this big. But he's a badass. I mean, there's no getting around that. Barristan, they say if him and Barristan fought, you know, it would be a equal fight, I guess. But if he has Don, he beats Barristan. Okay, so I mean that tells you how badass he is. That's all you really need to know. I'm not gonna talk anymore about him. Number 2, Rhaegar Targaryen. This is all I got to say about Rhaegar. Everything he did, he was awesome, man. You know, when he's 10, he's playing his harp in Summer Hall. You know, he comes back and walks up to the Master at Arms with the Red Keep and tells him, I need to be a knight. I must fight. You know, I must be a warrior. Well, and everything he did, he was good at. His best friend, Sir Arthur Dane. So this guy trains day in, day out with Arthur Dane. You know, and I mean, everybody says, you know, his prowess of a fighter was, I mean, everybody says he was a badass fighter. And this separates him from everybody else. This dude hung with Robert Baratheon in a one-on-one fight. I mean, they say the fight was, you know, they say it took forever. I'm saying, you know, it was probably, who knows, you know, they exaggerate in the books, I think. I mean, a real fight, what do you say, 5 minutes, you know? 5 minutes, that's like an eternity in a battle. That's what I would think, you know. But these dudes are in the river, you know, circling each other on their horse, just pounding the shit out of each other. I mean, Robert Baratheon can't even go and fight. He can't even go to King's Landing. You know, he's injured. You know, after the fight, he's laid up. He has to send Ned and the rest of his army to go down to King's Landing to rescue or to take the throne, take Aerys out. So I mean, this guy, he's awesome. He's awesome. Plus he banged Robert's old lady. You know, I mean that's going to give you some extra fuel to fight. You know, and he still hung with him. Well, pretty badass. And number 1, the guy we were just talking about, Robert Baratheon. Now, Robert Baratheon, this dude's 6'6". This dude's 6'6". He carries a warhammer that Ned Stark can barely pick up with 2 hands. And he swings this son of a bitch with 1 hand like it's a freaking t-ball bat. I mean, if you were going to fight in a battle, you know, a long sword, yeah, that's great. You know, I mean, a warhammer, it's just, I mean, you don't have to worry about it dulling. I mean, you could knock, I mean, it's a freaking hammer, man. It's like the best weapon to fight battles with. I mean, an axe can dull. You can chip axe. You can knock pieces, break the axe in half. A freaking hammer's a solid piece of freaking steel, man. You just whoop on shit all damn day long and nothing's going to happen to it. I just think it's the best weapon to fight battles. I think, you know, that's obviously another reason, you know, he's won every melee he's ever been in. I mean, you can't say anything about him. You know, like I said, I got friends, they think, you know, Robert Baratheon, like Barristan, Arthur Dane would just run through this guy. Bullshit. There's no way in hell. No way in hell. No way. This dude won 3 battles in a day. This dude, he wasn't a good king. You know, he wasn't a good king. But the dude was bad. He knew how to kick ass. This dude knew how to fight. And that's all that matters. That's all that matters on this list, at least. And that being said, that's my second video. Like I said, my name's KC Stark. I had to change my name up a little bit. You'd be surprised the amount of Casey's you find out on these when you look it up on YouTube. But I'm about to go drink some beer and I'm going to watch some football. So y'all have a good day.